the girl pierced her thigh with a tree branch to deliberately create the illusion of having her first period. She then approached her mother with a frightened expression and showed her the blood-stained clothes. Sarah believed her daughter had truly started menstruating and immediately took her to the room to handle the situation. However, as soon as they entered the room, Anna panicked and asked Sarah to look at the photos. The photos were family portraits of various families. Sarah looked at her daughter with a puzzled expression, but her daughter told Sarah in a frightened voice that the Patty couple who had invited them on a trip were actually murderers, and that the families in the photos had all been killed. Sarah thought this was her daughter's prank, so the girl explained the whole story. Just now, the little boy had deliberately thrown the ball out of the adult's sight. Then, taking advantage of the adult's inattention, he led Anna to a warehouse. He used the key he had stolen from his father to open the door. Under Anna's puzzled gaze, the boy opened the secret passage in the warehouse. They then entered the basement. What greeted Anna's eyes was a strange sight. The place was filled with various household items and mobile phones of different models. As Anna looked on in confusion, the boy opened an album. The photos were of various families, but strangely, every photo had the Patty couple in it. Seeing that Anna still didn't understand, he immediately flipped to the page with his own photo and pointed to it with his finger to tell Anna that his parents weren't the Patty couple. As Anna looked on in horror, the boy pointed to his own tongue again and struggled to open his mouth wide. At that moment, Anna suddenly understood. It turned out that the boy's tongue had been cut off, and the person who did it was Patty. They had brutally murdered the boy's parents. Since they had no children of their own, they had taken the boy as their own son. To prevent the boy from revealing the secret, they had cut off his tongue. Then the boy took out a freshly printed photo, which turned out to be Anna's family. It seemed that Patty's next target was Anna's family. Anna was so scared she started trembling, but she knew she had to tell her parents about this first, so she took a photo of the picture as evidence. When the two of them came out of the warehouse, the boy immediately wanted to put the key back to prevent Patty from discovering it, but Patty was drunk and had returned to his room. Fortunately, he didn't notice that the key was missing, so the boy quickly came up with a plan and said he wanted to play a game with his dad, and took the opportunity to hang the key on his waist. Anna pretended to have her first period and tricked her mother back into the house. Upon learning the truth, Sarah was terrified. They had to leave immediately, so she quickly found an excuse to call her husband over and told him everything. At this point, they had to pretend they didn't know anything and find a reason to leave, but they didn't know that while they were leaving, Patty had already noticed through the window that the secret room had been opened. At this point, he had already become suspicious of Anna's family. When Anna's family stepped out of the room, they saw Patty with an eerie smile on his face. Sarah then pretended to be calm and used Anna's period as an excuse to leave, but strangely, Patty didn't stop them. Instead, he seemed to be looking forward to seeing them again, but when they reached the car, they discovered that the tire was flat. They had planned to pretend not to notice and drive away, but just as they were about to get in the car, Patty stopped them, claiming that with a flat tire, they couldn't possibly drive. He even offered to replace the tire for them, to prevent Patty from noticing their unusual behavior. Mike reluctantly agreed. Then, at Patty's invitation, they went to the warehouse together to get tools. Seeing the room filled with knives and guns, Mike felt an instant sense of panic. He thought Patty would kill him the next second, but Patty didn't do that. He simply took a tool and quickly changed the tire for them. He hugged Mike and said goodbye. Then he hugged Sarah, but instead, he took the opportunity to kiss her. Sarah dared not resist and could only let Patty do as he pleased. The boy also hugged Anna goodbye. Anna quietly told the boy that they would definitely come back to save him. Before Mike got into the car, he motioned for the boy to open the door for him, but the boy had only taken a few steps when Patty called him back. This moment made the whole family tense. The next second, Patty pulled out the remote key from his pocket and slowly opened the gate. However, just as they had relaxed and thought they could finally leave, Anna saw a terrifying scene.